database. Oh, I almost forgot. I need to introduce our speaker. So, our speaker today is Rich Griffin, who's the owner of Sonoran Title. Yes. So, Rich has been managing a database of approximately 19,000 realtors for the past 5 years. And here to show you some of his insights, tips, tricks, and tools is Rich Griffin. So the first thing that I want to do, I want to get you guys obviously laughing a little bit. I really want to make this interactive. So we're going to talk a lot about CRM and email response marketing and how to actually stay in front of real estate agents and actually have them use you is really kind of the end goal here. So in order to get you guys all started and fired up, I need everyone to stand up. And I have a little metaphor for you guys here today. So everybody stand up. Dorothy just sat down. Dorothy, you're exempt. Dorothy just sat down.
Because only because I'm eating.
Exactly, I'm being polite. I'm being polite. Okay, so I have in my hands here today 4 tickets to the Suns-Celtics game, Wednesday, February 19th. It includes a parking pass. Exactly right. So I'm going to parking pass, 4 tickets, and I want to give them to someone here today for free. So who wants them? Me. Right here. Oh, yeah! So, our president, Joe Ashton, figured this thing out. You guys can all sit down. Yeah. Hey, you want to go get a seat? Thank you. Congratulations, Joe. So, I want to use that as a metaphor as we get started because really, the whole thing, growing a real estate database or a realtor database, is exactly that exercise that I just did that Joe and Jonathan darn near wrestled over to figure out. But essentially, at the end of the day, there are realtors all over the place doing just that. Here's the deal. It's the people that stand up, and I had you guys all stand up. I tried to remove as many barriers as I possibly could. So I wanted you guys to stand up, get out in the open, so you couldn't stop and say, well, I was sitting down, or, poor Dorothy had a piece of chicken in her mouth. I wanted to remove all those things and have everyone stand up and say, yes, here's how it is. And it's a matter of taking that initiative and being able to go out and say, I'm going to go out and grab this. I'm going to grab this agent, or I'm going to work with these guys. I have to do something to be able to make that work. You can't just hang your shingle out there and be able to say, realtors, come work with me. That's not how it works. How many of you folks are working with real estate agents right now? Okay. How many of you have what I call a CRM, or customer or client relationship management program? Hands up again. Okay. One of the things we're really going to talk a lot about today, and incidentally, a CRM platform is not a stack of business cards on your desk and remembering to call them every once in a while. That isn't CRM. So we're going to talk a lot about that today towards the end of this thing. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and this is really kind of the fundamental piece here. So when we talk about who you are, it's really developing, or at least in your mindset, being able to have a USP, a unique selling proposal. When you're talking with realtors, it's the thing that makes you, when you look at this thing here, it answers the question, why do I want to do business with you? The whole idea behind this is so much more, and this is also referred to as, your elevator pitch. For those of you unfamiliar with what an elevator pitch is, it's essentially the nutshell of why you work with somebody over the course of a ride in an elevator. A minute or two. You want to be able to keep it real short, concise, so you can deliver it fast and convey a message effectively. The USP should also be engaging in a conversation. You really want someone to, when they hear a USP, you really want them to say, oh, well, how do you do that? Or why do you do it that way? So when we talk about what a USP is not, there's a joke that a USP, a unique selling proposal, it isn't a universal selling proposal. So when you're talking with realtors, and as you guys develop your own individual USP, like Mitch's USP is going to be way different than Stan's. They're two very different people. So when you're talking with folks, you want that to be unique. You want it to be about you. You want it to be able to allow your personality, your process, whatever it is about you that makes you unique, be unique. The you in the USP isn't universal. It isn't a universal selling product, a universal selling proposition. And that's really why you don't want to have phrases like this in your USP. I'm there for you 24/7. I'll work every weekend. I never miss a close of escrow. I've got great rates. I've got great service. If those are the big hooks into your USP, it's universal. I can tell you, real estate agents are going to hear that 5 times a day from every LO that's going to call them to talk to do business with them. Oh, I always hit my close of escrow day, or my docs always get there early. Well, that's great. Until I send you a deal, so does everybody else. It has to be about you guys. And that's when we talk about a unique process. So some examples of pretty effective USPs. So first one that I love, the Domino's Pizza one. Fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less. Now, do you notice suspiciously what's absent from that USP? Delicious. We're not saying anything the pizza's going to be good. We're saying it's going to be fast, hot, in 30 minutes or less. I'm not saying it's fantastic pizza, but think about when Domino's first got going. That was a college town pizza joint. Allegedly, people, college kids, they come home from different social places, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they want pizza. They don't care what it tastes like. And that was where the slogan came. So Domino's came back and said, our USP, fresh, hot, pizza, fast. It ain't good. It's here. So, but when you start, so as you develop this USP, or at least what you think it's going to be in your head, use that kind of as a guideline. Another one that really ensures security. You look at FedEx when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. Well, geez, yeah, if I got to send something, even now, FedEx, the term FedEx has replaced the term of overnight delivery. It doesn't matter if you use UPS. Oh, I got to FedEx this. UPS guys love to hear that. Oh yeah, I got to FedEx this to you. Let me grab UPS. Well, think about that from a USP. That corporation has inserted their company's name into an action. That's what their USP did for them. Now, it doesn't always have to be a slogan. It doesn't always have to be short and concise. So like when I developed our USP, so we're a boutique title company that helps realtors with marketing. Not advertising, marketing. And I say it exactly like that, with the pauses entailed by salespeople to do the exact same thing. Because I want realtors to be able to stop and think, first off, what's the difference? And that's when I know I've got them. Because if they're asking what the difference is between advertising and marketing, I've already got them. Because I'm going to show them exactly what that looks like. And we're able to sit down with these guys and really help custom craft marketing strategies and campaigns and things like that with these guys, as opposed to, well, I just got this listing, so I guess I'm going to have to send out a just list that are just sold flyer. Well, that's advertising. So in our USP, how I wanted to differentiate us as a title company, I wanted us to come back and say, our USP is about developing the difference between advertising and marketing. Does anyone else have a UPS or USP already coined? Are you rumbling, Stan? Do you have an idea?
Ours is available when you are. Nights and weekends, we come to you.
Okay. And the thing that I want to be careful, and kind of one of the things that I talked about as far as what a USP is not, anytime that you bake in service to that, the thing that you need to be careful with is that everybody in the room is going to say that very thing, or most people in the room are going to say that very thing. So that's more of a universal process as opposed to a unique one. But you have something. I mean, you're miles ahead of most already. The fact that you've already thought that through, you're already ahead of the game. The only tweak that I would say is, okay, what makes it different about dealing with you? Well, I love the fact that you still drive out to these guys. That should be part of your USP hook, is that Stan is coming out to your house. So you better have some crumb cake on the table and the coffee ready, because Stan's coming. Not anybody else, it's Stan. I mean, this is the guy. So I mean, that could be part of that hook. But anybody else out there? Okay. So CRM, the next thing that I really want to talk about, and this isn't a chicken and the egg thing. You need to have, at least in your mindset, you need to have a USP before you launch everything else. Because the USP is the pivot point. That's the thing that you rally everything else around. So like for me, when I talk about our USP, the difference between marketing and not advertising, all of my sales initiatives, all my sales pitches, everything that I gear towards realtors reinforces that USP. The things that I do go and reinforce that. I don't try to go out and reinvent the wheel every day. The first thing that I do when I sit down in regards to a marketing campaign with a real estate agent or a group of agents is that I want to be able to have that focus around my USP. So that's really the launch point. After you get the USP set down on paper somewhere, then you can really start building around this. Now, for a lot of folks, and I can tell you close to half, maybe even 3/4 of loan officers that I work with think that a CRM is just what I described before, a stack of business cards on their desk, or Gmail, or Outlook, or any just email campaign, any just type of general email. CRM is not about email, it's not about having a stack of business cards, because both of those things require initiative on your guys' parts. You have to remember to do that. You don't necessarily have a system or something in place to be able to go back and say, okay, here's what we need to do. You want to create this thing kind of like on autopilot. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But and there are tons of different CRM platforms out there. When I was rattling this thing off, when I first put this together, Salesforce has got a great program at top of mind. Does anybody else use any other really good ones that they really like? Joe?
Referral maker, do this with me.
Referral maker, and I've seen your guys, and it's pretty slick. I mean, you guys do a really good job of Ryan, keeping your customers informed. I mean, I see a lot of that stuff. Now, does that carry over to realtors as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a really slick process. Anybody else?
Mortgage CEO.
Say again?
Mortgage CEO.
Mortgage CEO. What kind of differentiators as far as it standouts?
I don't know. I haven't used it, but I just know about it. A lot of people use it.
Okay. So when you're evaluating any type of CRM, personally, I use a combination of ACT and Constant Contact. Yeah, I've used ACT for years and years. It's just a platform that I'm comfortable with. Salesforce is a real good one. Infusionsoft is another one that's out there. And that's a really customizable program, but you've got to almost have a really good tech background to understand how that works. But boy, there's some really cool ones. There's also, if you just Google free CRM, I think Zoho is one of those ones that's out there that's a free CRM product. But those are some really just decent ideas.
Yes, please.
And a lot of these things aren't necessarily, terribly expensive. And I can tell you that they will pay for themselves 50 times over. Because what it does is it helps you automate this process. So when we talk about what your CRM really needs to do, you want to think in terms of systems. So first off, you want to really be able to have your CRM work on autopilot. You want it to work while you're doing something else. And I got an example here today of something that's going on right now. I mean, literally it's working live. So one of the email campaigns that I've got running even today. So Wednesdays, ironically, is my big blast day for my agent database. So every Wednesday at 5:05 in the morning, I script out an email that I send out to close to 19, 20,000 realtors. And I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like, but I have things already built in place with autoresponders already set up. So I can have people reach out to us as opposed to us reaching out to them and trying to get that business. So one of the things, in the terminology for it is it's inbound marketing. So rather than having you constantly reaching out to realtors saying, please, can I get a deal? Hey, I've got this, I've got all this great stuff to be able to help you grow your business. Here's my USP. Can we work together? What I've tried to do, and what a lot of good advocates and good CRMs really try to do, is they try to be able to create an inbound process. And I've got some samples of that later on as well, where I can send out a message and have people reply back to me saying, yeah, let's do business together. Imagine turning that platform on its head. So you guys as LOs, imagine having realtors reach out to you guys saying, hey, Jonathan, I want to work with you. Rather than Jonathan making phone calls saying, hey, I'd like to work with you. Can you throw me a deal? Imagine having a good CRM in place where you actually have agents calling you saying, hey, I'd like to work with you. That's what a good CRM can do. And I've got a couple samples, like I said, so make it interactive and feel free to ask questions as we go. So we don't need to save it until the end. So another important piece here to CRM is that you want to be able to sift and sort your data to be able to make it manageable. Because part of this process, I can tell you that managing a database of 19,000 realtors, there's a lot of duds in that database. Not every agent produces in that database. Heck, most of those agents don't even call me. But the fact that I'm dripping on them, the fact that I'm communicating with them, I'm allowing them to actually reach out to us. And we create what's known as a sales funnel. Are you guys familiar with what the sales funnel process kind of looks like? Okay, so for those of you that are unfamiliar with what a sales funnel really looks like, what we try to do is create this literally a funnel. So it looks like this, and your customers, just like how a deal goes through a pipeline, and you have it in various stages. So whether you're waiting, you've got the initial contact, you've got docs in, you've got disclosures out, you're waiting for the appraisal to come back, it's in underwriting, it's at title, it's signed, you're moving a deal through the process. Well, imagine a sales funnel the same way, it's just inverted. So rather than going out like this, it's this sales funnel. And what happens is that the numbers get smaller as they go further down the pipeline or further through the funnel. So like my beginning sales funnel starts with 19,000 and some realtors. So that starts up here. And then the next level down is maybe they come to one of my CE classes. And that audience drops down to the next layer of the funnel. So what things do I have in place to capture, be able to reach out to those guys once they hit one of my classes? And then after they attend one of my classes, after I evaluate them and find out what their needs are, they drop down a little bit further in the sales funnel. And eventually it gets to the point where the sales funnel is just pouring out pre-qualified realtors of folks that we want to work with that are actually doing business. So scripting or setting up your sales funnel so it allows this process to go down like this, and at the end of this thing is the pot of gold. So it looks just like a pipeline with, when you're managing customers with a purchase or refi, except for it's just turned up like this. So I'll go into a little bit more detail with that one. So before I freak you out with this thing, I don't expect you to read this. There's not going to be a test. So this is just kind of something, what we're using right now. As I said before, that we're using a combination of Constant Contact and ACT. So I wanted to just show you just kind of just a couple of quick screen prints. The names aren't really relevant. It's just kind of a matter. I just wanted to get you a feel that that this isn't just stacking up business cards on a desk. There's actually a process involved in this. So what we're trying to do here, so I'm going to talk this way so I can actually see what I'm talking about here. This thing moves. So down here, I actually have the ability to kind of sift and sort different types of opportunities. So whether I'm talking about individual contacts, whether I'm talking about calendar events or different opportunities, where they're at in the process, it allows me to sift and sort this way. And then what I've done is that my database, inside my ACT database, I may have, 2,700 different records. And I can tell you, most of you guys are in there. The idea behind this is that in here, like say for example, I looked at all the different call routes that I may have availability to. So like this one here, I've actually labeled as house agents. So I know this one as realtors that I personally work with. So I have this list of real estate agents that are all right there, and I have their information, and I can kind of quickly do some type of, a quick phone call or things like that. But in a good CRM process, you want to have almost like a tree, where you've got a branch here, and then it goes down to here, and it starts here. So I go groups, here are my group lists, here are my contact lists. So what happens is that you have it at different levels. So I'm prioritizing. Not all, notice not all 19,000 agents are in this database. I don't need them to be yet, because I don't know where they're at in that process. I can't work, my company can't work with 19,000 realtors. I'd love to, but I know that I can't. So I want to put the ones that I really care about, that I have that working relationship already set up. So I want to be able to set that up. So when I move on to the next one, this is actually an account detail. And in this particular setup, so I go from here and then just launch this list. So this essentially becomes a call route for me. And up here, I can actually, can't even see very well.
Couldn't even see that close.
All right. So in this particular example, I'm working with Wendy Ortiz over at Arizona Best Real Estate. So she's one of 62 or 63 records that I have here. Now what I did was I actually kept the comments page open. So anytime I talk with Wendy, I document that conversation. So I can quickly remember our conversation. So if I have, potentially 2,700 people that I have to immediately recollect a conversation with, I'm good, but I'm not that good. So I'm able to cheat a little bit, and I actually keep my notes over here. Now I also have the ability to go in and capture what their production numbers look like. I can tell as I'm working with Wendy what type of production numbers she's capable of doing, and I track that. So I can prioritize how much I really want to talk to Wendy. One of the things that I do here quickly, I've got this department number, and what that tells me is how many units this realtor has done in the past 6 months. Because that's really what I care about. While I love to flex my muscle and say that I've got 19,000 realtors in my database, who cares? How many are you working with that are actually doing business? And that's really what you guys want to care about, is to say, who are you working with and what type of production are they doing? And how quickly can you assess that information? So any member of my company can pull this up and quickly see how important Wendy Ortiz is to us. Within, just pulling up her name and saying, hey, she's a producing agent. We need to be able to treat her, not with a higher level of respect, but certainly you want to be able to accommodate her much more so than someone who's never closed a deal. Prioritizing your stuff. Questions with that? Okay. It's really loud. So I was saying earlier that I wanted to show you guys a couple of tips in regards to email. And I had said that I use a combination of ACT and Constant Contact. So one of the things that I've done here is showing you this was from, what was that, 2/5. So my email that I sent out last week, this went out to, you can see 19,792 agents. And you can tell that I had a little over 2,100 of them opening. So I'm able to track what my open rate is on every email that I send out. So I can see in my USP is designed around our continuing education stuff. So as you guys are probably aware, realtors need 24 hours of continuing ed credits every 2 years. So what I've done over the past year and a half or so is really started to load up on these CE classes. And in some cases, I actually teach them myself. So every single Wednesday at 5:05 in the morning, I send out a broadcast to my database saying, hey, here are all the classes that I teach, or here are all the classes that we're sponsoring. There's some value here. Don't just delete it. Don't flag me for spam. Some spam thresholds, most email providers or most email carriers, if you're sending out, for every 2,000 emails that you send out, you're allowed essentially one person to flag you for spam. Constant Contact is a little bit tougher. They drop it down to 1 in every 1,000. So for every 1,000 emails you send out, before your account goes into review status, it's 1 for every 1,000. So you can see after about a year and a half, sent out 19,000, I've had 7 people flag me for spam. So I'm less than even half what their number is. So from our standpoint, it's one of these things is to say, hey, I can't, an agent walks up on the wrong side of the bed and wants to flag me for spam. I can't stop that. But certainly it's not this wholesale attempt, and I had about 30 people opt out. So at some point, someone had a bad cup of coffee and said, you know what, I don't need any more classes. I'm opting out of this list, which they can do at any time. So one of the things that I've really paid a lot of attention to when we start talking about how to actually get your emails opened up, first off, writing an email, there's an art to it. It isn't just saying, throwing up on the PC and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to send out. Being able to pick and choose your words really carefully. That art is called copywriting. And there are a lot of great copywriters out there, and probably a handful of them that I follow fairly regularly on Twitter and stuff like that. I encourage you guys to do the same. A couple of really good ones that are out there. Dan Kennedy is a great one. John Carlton, John Caples, Gary Ogilvy is another great one. And those guys are really good at both direct response, which is direct mail advertising, as well as email marketing stuff. So what I've found in my testing is that anytime you can have a number in your subject line, it's going to get better response rates. And think of it the same way. I'm going to ruin you guys in the supermarket. So when you guys are in the checkout line and you see these magazines, so you look at the National Enquirer, Self Magazine, and stuff like that, start looking at the covers of those magazines. And if you look on the lower right-hand side of those magazines, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. 5 ways to know that he loves you. 7 ways to a flatter tummy. 3 great ways to ensure a great retirement. All those things out there, they've got a good hook, but more importantly, they have a number. It's one of those things that just psychologically, the brain fixates on a number and says, hey, this is important. This has got credibility because there's a number attached to this thing. So when I'm doing those things, this is why my email comes out with 7 CE classes and workshops this month. Someone that's going to see that has a need for CEs or wants to know what workshops we're doing, I've got the number 7 in there. It gets launched. And I've got right now about 11-12% open rate is typically what I track at with an email this size. Typically our industry typically hovers anywhere from 9 to about 10.5%. So I'm a little bit above average. I like to think it's because I've been actually studying the copywriting stuff to be able to hold open rates. So this one here, this is the second half of that email. So, and I did it this way to actually show you some more tracking. There's a lot of science that goes into our CRM. So every class that I offer, so here's all the list of the URLs. So for every class that I do, I create a web page and say, hey, come sign up to our class. Here's our workshop on farming. Here's our fair housing class. Here's our contract law class. And I put them all out there. And what I'm able to do is I can see who clicked what. So on the 2,200 people that opened up that email, I have the ability to capture who did what. And now I can take that CRM and introduce it to the sales funnel and move them down that priority list a little bit. Because now I see who has an interest in that contracts class, who had an interest in the farming class. And I can drill down, and you guys can do exactly the same thing by creating what your USP is and then anchoring it into your email. You can drive this right out to your business because now I can reach out to these 22 people that clicked that and said, hey, it looks like you have an interest in this contracts class. Yeah, we're sponsoring this thing. Really hope you can make it. Hey, by the way, that is a way better conversation than, hi, this is Rich with Sonora and Title. I was hoping you had a couple minutes to talk. Click. Nope, I got no time. Oh yeah, I saw that. You immediately got at least recognition with these guys. You've got that soft intro. So as we're doing these things, that's why I attracted things the way that we do. So I talked before about creating an autopilot. So what you're trying to accomplish with this stuff here is that you're trying to be able to set this thing up to allow you to work while you're doing something else. I've purposely kept my phone on. I've been hoping it was ringing a little bit more, but with the little chimes. So and the reason why I'm doing that is to show you, since last time I checked my email, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different realtors have clicked this email to reply back to us. So one of the things that I've done, put out there, I've got this farming guide that I wrote. So it got, how real estate agents typically farm a specific area. So I wrote this guide out there, put it out there and said, hey, here's this free guide to farming. Click right here to request this report. So they click that thing and it sends an auto email that I've got an autoresponder already set up to send them a hyperlink off Dropbox for the free report. So instantaneously, they're getting information that's valuable to them without me having to sit in front of an email and click reply and click attach and click send. I'm talking to you guys, and these realtors are getting stuff from me while I'm up here talking to you guys. And it's a real simple process. You think about that, you set up in your email account. I have, if you guys want to try this thing, go to your email, send an email to freereport@sonorantitle.com, and you'll get a hyperlink immediately back to you saying, hey, click, here's to click our free guide on farming, click here to download the report. It takes you right to a Dropbox site where you can pull off that report. So when I go back to the office today, I'll probably have 50 different, well, not 50, this week I'll probably have about 25-ish realtors that I'll have to sift and sort. How much business are they doing? Do I really want to talk to them? But now they're reaching out to us. Turns the dynamic completely on its head. It's not you begging for business anymore. It's those guys reaching out to you. So I did the same thing here with a lot of you guys in the audience. So last week, remember what I was saying before about numbers? So I threw out, oh, I'm sorry, that's the next one. Spoiler alert, I'm tipping off my next slide. In working with real estate agents, there's the concept here of jabs versus right hooks. I got 2 more slides to go and then we're done. So anybody familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk? How about the term, or the book Crush It? A lot of real estate agents love that book, Crush It. It's a really, really good book. So if you get a chance to pick it up. His next book in the process is called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And what he equates this thing to, he equates marketing to a boxing match. And he says, really, typically what you have to do as a boxer sets up his opponent. Jab, 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 right hook. You can't go into a ring, right hook, right hook, right hook. Your opponent's going to know what's coming. They're going to do this, and nothing's going to happen. So if you're always trying to land the right hook, ask for the business. If you're always trying to do that, you're never going to get it because your opponent has got this. They've got to get their defenses up. You've got to set them up. Jab, jab, and then come across it. So last week with you guys, and this was kind of without even realizing that I was setting this thing up for this talk today, but a lot of you guys got my email about this subject line here was 3 ways to ensure a safe Valentine's Day. Once again, there's a number in there. How to ensure a safe Valentine's Day? Well, absolutely. I'm gonna click on this one. And it was just a quick little jab. I had 3 quick tips. Don't forget about this holiday. Buy something, anything, for that special someone in your life. Tip number 3, don't skip tip number 2. So at the end of this thing, and then it said, hey, to make sure, let's see, to help with tip number 2, please see the coupon below. I hope you can put it to good use. Remember, we're here to help, even if it's with your love life. And I set up a coupon with Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory to give you 10% off. Clip that out, you can use it online or any one of their 8 locations. That's a jab. I'm not asking for business. Just throwing it out here. Hey, here's a quick little something, gets you to smile, gets you to laugh a little bit, a little thing of value. So that's the jab. So the right hook, this one I sent out back in January, and it went to a lot of you guys as well. How would you like to grow 75 realtors into your database? And the idea behind this was I just spelled out how, and I just showed you guys, how I track all these click-throughs. Well, if you'd like to grow your realtor database by 75 agents, partner with us. I don't charge you anything for the partnership, and I'll give you those click-throughs. So my LOs are going to get those 25 people that clicked through that had an interest in the class that they're sponsoring. That was my right hook. So whereas this one is a jab to say, hey, here's something cute, little free, here's a free little coupon for chocolate, jab, jab, boom, I'm asking for business. And I did that with you guys even today. I printed these screens up because I wanted to show you guys real life how this is working. And you can apply this exactly the same way with realtors. Just like, whether I'm sending out the farm request, think about this. I had over 200 people reply to this email. Now, if I got it today and said, I'm going to have 200 people open this email and ask to do business with me, think about that for a second. Talk about turning a paradigm on its head. I've got loan officers calling a title company saying, hey, this looks good, I want to do business with you. Rather than me having to have 200 dozen boxes of donuts come into an office, please, please, please do business with us. That's not how this works. So by turning the paradigm on its head and using CRM and email marketing, you can actually do the exact same thing. It's a matter of just flipping the paradigm on its head. That's it.
Cool.
Questions? All right. Well, I'll turn this back over to our MC. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us the name of the CRM package you use again?
Yeah, it's called ACT.
Okay.
So my version is, I think, ACT 2011 or 2012. I think is the actual version that I'm using. It syncs up with Outlook. So whenever I click on a hyperlink, it takes them right out to my email, and I'm able to track that stuff.
I think Wise Agent, that kind of stuff.
Wise Agent's another great, stable, inexpensive platform. A lot of realtors use